We are seeing price cuts, and more price cuts. Now, does this mean that we're at the bottom of a housing crash? Is this where you need to jump in and buy a house? Well, we're gonna talk about that and understand what is the reason for all of these price cuts that we're starting to see. So it says here, a record share of home sellers have dropped prices, but buyers are still struggling, Redfin says. Now, why is that? Why are buyers still struggling, yet we're seeing price cuts from sellers? Let's jump into this information and this data first before I go ahead and break down the reason for this. The latest pulse reading of the U.S. housing market shows signs of a shift, but still little price relief for buyers. A number of home sellers who've dropped their asking price shot up to a 6-month high of 15% during a 4-week period ending on May 1st, up from 9% a year earlier, says Redfin, the largest annual gain on record in Redfin's weekly housing data. Now, why is this, guys? Why is this? This is the real reason. You have a lot of sellers who have already, remember guys, we are coming from an explosive housing market where prices were going up 33% year over year. So houses were already inflated. Now also remember, there was a housing frenzy where people were paying overpriced, and that is still going on in certain markets. But now that the housing market is slowing down because of interest rates, now you have sellers coming to their senses and saying, buyers can't afford this price and pay high interest rates. We can't have both. So what you're seeing is sellers coming to their senses and thinking to themselves, I'm gonna have to lower this from $50,000 down to $20,000 to $10,000, but they're still gonna get an overpriced, overvalued selling of their home, right? And so you are starting to see that. You're starting to see these cut prices. And I like to use the analogy of you're going to a clothing store and you see 50% off and you think you're getting a deal. But in the big scheme of things, the clothing people probably paid $2 for that pair of jeans. They're selling them to you for $40 down from $160 or $100. To you, you're getting a deal, right? It's a steal. It's a steal. That is what's happening in the housing market. Sellers are dropping their prices, but it is still overvalued, guys. Here's the thing is don't get tricked into overpaying still, because you will still be overpaying $10,000, $20,000, right? You won't be paying over $50,000, $100,000 like crazy like last year. In some markets still are charging that much. But let's just talk about this, where we're talking about the subject matter right now. You won't get charged those astronomical, overpriced, over asking deals, right? You won't get that. You'll be paying $10,000 to $20,000 over asking. And then not only top of that, you're gonna be paying 7% interest rate. So you're gonna get caught either way. Not to explain, property taxes are gonna get raised on you the next year, which you have to take into account that that's going to happen to you. A lot of people don't, but listen to my last video where I talked about that, where you have to understand that you will get caught with property taxes. You cannot overpay or buy a house at a greater value and not think the government's not going to charge you in taxes. That is going to happen. You can't get around it, and you have to be prepared and ready for that. Why prices are still high. Supply continues to lag far behind demand as buyers continue to outnumber sellers. So the typical homes fly off the market at a faster pace on record for more than the asking price. Like I just said, still over asking, even though prices are still being dropped. It's just not as much. Home buyers continue to be squeezed in nearly every way possible, which is causing some to take steps back from the market. Unfortunately for buyers hoping to find a deal, as competition cools, sellers are pulling back even faster, which is keeping the market deep in sellers' territory. So even though prices dropped are becoming more common, most homes are still selling above asking price in record time. I just hit on this. I know I went on that long tangent rant, but that was the point, guys, is that even though prices are being cut, they're still over asking. It's just not a big over asking. It's not a $50,000 to $100,000. It's 10 to 20. Homes continue to fly off the market at an astonishing pace. 42% of homes that went under contract during the same time period had an offer accepted within 1 week of hitting the market. 56% had offers accepted within the first 2 weeks. So we can see that it's still this crazy eBay competition still going on, even though we're having price cuts. And this is what I'm saying, guys. Don't get tricked into believing that we're at the bottom or the crash has started to happen and this is when you need to jump in. You're going to jump in and still be overpaying. Just because it says price cut does not mean you need to go, wow, this is it. I need to go and throw all my money in, because you're still going to be overpaying and you're going to still be in this heavy competition when it comes to buying a home. Now, let's talk about the mortgage impact. This says the monthly mortgage payment on a medium asking price home also rose to record levels, high $2,404 at the current 5.27% mortgage rate. We know that the average across the country is closer to about 6.2, 6.3 across the board. Redfin says that's up 42%. Listen, guys, just listen to what Redfin just said here. Up 42% from the previous, how much people were paying for a mortgage. 42%. That's insane, guys. Nobody wants anything risen up on them 42%. Also an all-time high from $1,688 a year earlier when mortgage rates were below 3%. Once again, this is the reason why it's so important to have information and data and know exactly what red flags are being shown to you, because some of you guys would have been tricked into believing that price cuts means that this is when you need to jump into the market. And then when you would have jumped into the market, you would have realized it was the same market. It's just a Scooby-Doo effect, right? You rip off the mask and it's, oh, the same housing market. You would be tricked into believing that this was a different housing market, but it's the same housing market, guys. Same housing market. It's just, people are just dropping their prices from ridiculous, absurd overpaying to moderate overpaying. Who can blame a seller, right? Who can blame a seller? If you were a seller, I'm a seller, you're going to try to get the most that you can. That's the game. That's the market. We all understand it. Most people would do it regardless. And I get it. The market is the market, but don't be fooled, guys, as a buyer jumping into this market thinking, it's going to be the bottom of the barrel prices and you're going to buy an asset and you're going to be buying your dream home for pennies on the dollar. We're not there yet. We have further to go, right? We have to see more things happen. Please look at all of these red flags. And once again, this is a research video. This is a video to allow you to make the best decision that you possibly can. No doom and gloom here, just research data that you need to make the best decision that you possibly can. I'm gonna need you to watch this next video here. It will help you learn about this crazy housing market. Also, jump into your first rental property. Also, check in the descriptions, guys, below. I have all types of useful links, credit reports, all this other stuff. Just check it out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.